What's up guys, my name is Odo and today I'll be giving you a guide on how to kill heroic Dreadfrost Boreus. So Boreus is a frost behemoth and this behemoth is weak to fire weapons and it is strong against fire armor. So if you're wearing fire armor you will take a ton of damage, but if you're using fire weapons you will do slightly more damage. And heroic Boreus also has a modifier that is called Frigid Touch. If you get hit by a physical attack you'll become chilled. All chilled does is make it to where you move a bit slowly, which can be a nuisance, so try and avoid getting hit, just don't get hit. When it comes to fighting Boreus, its main attacks are a jump and tailspin animation, which to avoid this or to dodge it properly, I would suggest rolling backwards when the tail is coming towards you. If you have Evasive Fury, you kind of have to wait until it's about to hit you and then roll backwards. You can roll forwards and avoid the tail and then roll again to avoid the landing, but it's wasting a lot of stamina and sometimes you don't have enough to do that. So I would suggest just rolling backwards. That's like the best course of action. It has a charge move, which in normal mode, it can do either 1 or 2 charges and they're pretty visible. It'll duck its head down and start running towards you. And in enraged mode, it's pretty much always going to be a double charge. So be aware of that. The next move is probably the easiest one to dodge because it's the most visible. It gives you the most amount of time to be prepared for it. So what it'll do is it'll throw its head down and spin to one direction, like in a 180, and then do the same thing in the other direction. All you have to really do here is avoid the head, but be aware the tail can still hit you, and it's kind of messed up. Like when you get hit by the tail, it's kind of messed up. The last attack is going to be a stomp, where if you want to avoid this, all you have to do is roll backwards or forwards. And this one doesn't really matter where you roll, but if you roll forwards, know that you'll be kind of inside of it in a way, and it can make it hard to see the next move coming. If you roll backwards, you might be too far away. If you're playing repeaters, you do want to be aware that this move has a pretty big radius, so even if you think you're far enough away, you might still get hit. So I suggest rolling regardless, just to be on the safe side. So those are Boreus' attacks, but let's go ahead and look at Boreus' other mechanic, which is by far the most interesting one in the game to date, in my opinion. So this is basically a defense mechanic that Boreus will use at the beginning of the fight, relatively early depending on damage you do, and throughout the fight. And the way it works is Boreus will go into an immune state where it's covered in frost, and the only way to break the frost is to use these snowflake type stacks that you get from the minions. And now when it comes to the minions, there are 3 different types. There is the Stalker, Spitter, and Bomber. The Stalker is kind of the least dangerous out of all 3 of these, and what it does is if you stand still for too long, it'll lunge at you with its tail. And it's pretty simple to avoid. Now the next minion is a Spitter, and this little dude is a pain. He be out here tossing bombs from Narnia, and they're really annoying to dodge. My advice for handling this guy is to find out where it's going to land and just go there and kill it as quick as possible. And just know that it will try and run from you, so you have to be kind of quick. Now the last minion is the Bomber, and this kind of works pretty much the same way as the Stalker. If you stand still for too long, it will blow up in your face and do a pretty good chunk of damage. Now there's a small bomb and a big bomb. The small bomb will do about a quarter your health, and the big bomb will do around half your health. But the big bomb, it takes a lot longer to arm, so if you get hit by this, you need to reassess your situation because you're doing something wrong. So like I said earlier, you get snowflake stacks from killing the minions, and you use these stacks to get Boreus out of its immune state. And the way this kind of works is each stack will do 300 damage, and you can have up to 30 stacks, and the duration on these stacks is pretty long. And these can be used for more than just breaking the immune state. If you save, if you get 30 stacks, after you break its frost off its body and it's no longer immune, each of these attacks will do around 300 damage, and it can become kind of crazy, right? It takes 10 stacks to get Boreus out of its immune state, so that means you can have around 20 stacks to just do a ton of damage and focus apart if you really want to. And that's all well and dandy, but that has nothing on what I'm about to talk about next, which is the fact that you can yeet the freaking bombs into Boreus. You can just launch these little fellers directly into Boreus if you're using a certain weapon. And it is the most fun thing in the game. I kind of wish there was an LTM, a limited time mode, where you just launch these bombs at your friends. There's 8 of you just all using hammer and launching them into each other. That'd be really fun. So you can launch the small minions with a hammer by doing a overhead prime swing or a horizontal prime swing. With the warpike, just get a missile that's about half charge and land it on the bomb, and it'll launch it in the direction you're shooting it from. And with the axe, do a overhead swing and a Q. which the axe is probably the worst weapon on Boreus in general, and it's also not that great at launching the bombs, but you can do it if you want to. So if the bombs explode near Boreus, they do 500 damage to Boreus, and they also grant you a snowflake stack. So what I mean by this is that it's a really effective way to break Boreus's shield really quickly, making use of the bombs. Now for all the other weapons that can't do this, you can lure the bombs to Boreus and explode them that way. It is still effective, but it's not as fun. So there's that. Now, when it comes to fighting Boreus, your weapon and cell choice really matters. For weapons, I'm going to give you my list, my personal opinions on what I think are good on Boreus, and that goes in this order. Repeaters, Chainblade, Sword, Warpike, Hammer, Axe. I think Axe is absolutely awful on Boreus. I would not wish that evil on anybody, and just be warned. And when it comes to the cells, I think that most of the meta cells are fine. I just don't think Overpower is that good in this fight, mostly because the stagger state does not last that long, and neither does the break part windows. But most of your other meta cells should be fine, especially Rage Hunter and Evasive Fury. I would also recommend the new cell Iceborne mixed in with some Rage Hunter, Rage, and Wild Frenzy, mostly because being in a low life build, which is below 50% health, you will always have the effects and the bonus effects from your cells. So it's a really consistent build on this fight, which has a lot of phases, and sometimes you can't get the procs you want on your cells. And I will be leaving some links to some builds for every single weapon in the description, so if you want to check that out to see what you might want to run on Boreus. And that's pretty much in the video. If you all liked it, hit the like button. If you want to, leave a comment, because it does help me out. And I do want to say thank you guys again for watching. I appreciate all the support, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.